So what happens when you take the Magic Keyboard's cantilever design and you improve upon it, and you add function row that doubles as your number row, and you add an RGB keyboard, and you add a flap that secures the Apple Pencil. Well, you get this product. This is the ESR Rebound Magnetic Keyboard case that they just launched for the Apple devices, and right now I have it for my iPad Air 5. Now make sure you stick around
for the entire video
because I'm going to be breaking down everything about this case. I'll be talking about the build, the keyboard, and the trackpad, which I know is a big point to mention when it comes to keyboard cases like this, and also whether I think the device will be worth it or not. Now before we talk about the build, I just quickly mention that this is a Bluetooth keyboard. It does not use the smart connector pins on the back of the iPad. Now when it comes to the build, let's talk about the magnets because that's something I was really interested in, and this ultimately will basically make or break the case. Because if the magnets were not good, there's not even any point in talking or making this video. So I'm glad to say that the magnets are perfectly fine with this case. You don't have to worry about your iPad just getting flown off. Now the next part I was really interested in testing out with this case were the hinges, and Apple made a big deal about how sturdy and great their hinges were. And although this is not the same, it comes very close, and it's close enough to warrant that this is going to be good enough, especially for the price point that this comes, because this is going to be a huge savings compared to the Magic Keyboard. So let's go ahead and talk about the keyboard because this is going to be obviously an important aspect of using this case. And I'm happy to say that the travel is very nice with this keyboard. It doesn't feel too flat or like you're stumping your fingers into a table. Now you're also going to get a pretty comfortable layout. It won't be the full size layout if you go with the iPad Pro 11-inch or the iPad Air 4 and 5 when it comes to the keyboard sizes, but you're going to go ahead and get a very nice full size keyboard when it comes to the 12.9-inch iPads, which you can purchase for those as well. Now just to make clear, when it comes to this 11-inch or 10.9-inch form factor, what you're going to see is that on the keyboard layout, the backspace is the single key size. So in my experience, the way I type, it lines up perfectly where my finger naturally goes. And that's what I noticed from immediately using this keyboard out of the box. Now the sound of the keyboard is pretty nice. You're not going to get anything annoying, and I'll let you be the judge of that right here. So as you can see, it's not too noisy. Now here's the best part about the keyboard. The number row doubles as a function row, and you're gonna get a whole bunch of cool functions. And it's important to note that you do have to press a function key in combination with those short keys because there's no function lock on this keyboard. When it comes to the keyboard backlight, you can adjust the brightness of it as well as change the color. So now let's finally talk about the trackpad. And I know a lot of people are really worried when it comes to the trackpad. And although this is a Bluetooth case, the trackpad does perform pretty well. Now let's talk about the abilities of the trackpad. You get all the multi-touch gestures you would on a Magic Keyboard, which is great to see, and they work really well. One thing that's really nice about this case too, especially when you're using the trackpad and just the keyboard in general, is that you can actually pop off the iPad and put on a stand or put it vertically, so that way you can just have like a full page if you're typing out a larger document or an email, or even just to center that camera because it's not placed in the right direction on the iPad Air 5. Now when it comes to touch sensitivity and palm rejection, there are some issues there. It's not going to be all, perfect, but at the end of the day, some other cases are also not perfect. And I think it's important to mention that some settings do help improve the user experience, at least in my case it has. So if you go ahead and actually adjust the settings for the inertial gestures as far as using the cursor goes on the iPad, it does improve your experience because sometimes you do get some sporadic movements with the trackpad as far as just using and navigating. But the main issue that sometimes arises is when typing. And when it comes to typing and palm rejection, you do get some accidental touches. Now, I've been able to actually alleviate a lot of the problems I had initially by just getting used to typing with this keyboard case. And I have a lot less issue, like drastically different. And when it comes to just typing, it could have been that I just have bigger hands and that this is just too small of a keyboard for someone like me. Everyone is a little different, and at the end of the day, your hand size and the way you type kind of come into play when it comes to using this keyboard case and what accidental touches you might receive. But it's not something that makes it drastically unusable, and it works far better than some of those cheap options that you might find on Amazon. So after all this, let's come to a conclusion and figure out if this is going to be worth it or not. I think there's a lot of value packed into the price point that this product is in, because not only are you saving $200, let's say if you round it, or you get a deal deal, which I have coupon codes down in the description for you to check out while they're still active. And not to mention, you do get those function keys, which will save you a ton of time when you're trying to change different settings, and it's just more intuitive to use than going to Control Center constantly to just adjust something, especially some apps when it makes going to the Control Center kind of hard. So I think this is absolutely worth the price that it comes in because it provides you a lot of value, and the price point savings kind of compensate for some of the shortcomings as far as not being as good as a Magic Keyboard. But for what it is and the price points coming in, it does a great job. And let me know down in the comments what you think of this case and whether you're going to pick one up or if you have any questions. And feel free to subscribe to the channel and follow me on the social media channels if you have any more questions and you want to get those answered. And stay tuned for an iPad Pro 2018 versus an iPad Air 5 comparison if you're interested to see if it's time for you to upgrade or not. And don't forget to take it easy with some tea.